Hey guys, how's it going? This is Sammy Marcus and Mr. Billy Herrington back again for episode 20. So without further ado, I'll pass the floor to him to give his little intro.
All right, thanks, Sammy. Hey, I'm Billy. Some of y'all probably know me or have at least heard of me. Um, I'm also the Area 6 director for USPSA. Serve on the discipline committee, Steel Challenge committee, a couple other committees. A lot of committee stuff going with it. Retired from the Army about next month will be 6 years ago. Um, done some stuff in law enforcement, do mostly training now for them. Kind of preparing everything for Area 6 Championship, the second weekend of September. That's getting closer by the day. It felt like it was so far away when I started, but now it's not. It's really close. And, just here to hang out and we bullshit and talk and, figure things out and talk together. All that behind me, by the way, is boxes of prizes for Area 6. It's taken over my reloading room quite a bit.
Awesome. That looks like it's going to be a
What
good.
you get for prizes? Anything big this year?
What's that?
I was asking what you get for prizes this year. Anything big?
So we'll see. Top of my head, MPA is a title sponsor. They're going to have a gun certificate. Probably open gun. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. We've got Glocks on board. Taurus is on board. PSTL, POV Nutrition, Curated Arms. Curated Arms will have some guns. Kimber, we got Kimber on there. If you check out the match, I did a digital matchbook. And I'm not the computer super smart guy, and I give all the credit to Claude on the matchbook. My prompts, but Claude's work, because when it comes to code, not my thing, right? So yeah, the matchbook, it has all the sponsors in there with links to them and everything, and it surprised me. I was pleasantly surprised and super appreciative of everybody who got on board with us to help it. And I wanted to do a prize table this year. I want to bring back the prize table and the award ceremony. Got Big Dog Steel doing the division top 3 trophies, and going to have it's like Manny Bragg in Florida to do the class and the category of trophies. So trying to bring a little something different to the area match that everybody's used to. Make it a little different. I'm a little different, so.
But Billy, when you
No, that's awesome, Billy. I know. Marcus, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sam. You got it.
Well, I was just talking about area matches. Like me and Marcus both shot Area 8 this past weekend, and I shot Area 7 2 weeks ago now, I think. And it's true. Like they don't really do the prize table.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it. I feel like it's nice to come back to that, just because it makes it more an event and kind of separates it from a sectional or a state match. So I'm happy to see you change and pave the way back into I don't know if better times, because it might have been before my time, but at least back to what I think an area match should be like.
Yeah, man, there should be something for winning. I don't, me and my own little, I guess, myopic view, I don't think you get rewarded enough for winning. The person that wins limited optics, they got first dibs on the limited optics prize table and get whatever they want off of it. And it's going to go down from there, by division, by order of finish. So, I think that kind of brings some of the romance back, or some of the nostalgia, or just the desire to win it, other than, a trophy mailed to your house, which, isn't bad. It's just, whatever model somebody wants to kind of go with and try to figure out, and figure this is my first one. So I don't really do anything simple or small. I kind of go all the way into it, and that's that's definitely happened. So
Yeah, it's a good time. I know one of the first things that I asked when I started shooting a couple years ago, I was like, a couple of guys I shoot with over the winter time are they shoot skeet or trap professionally, and they and some of the cash prizes are enormous that they get when they, they're some of the better shooters in the States, and I think when they win some of their tournaments, they win 25 and $50,000 prizes now. And I was like, well, as much as I love USPSA, I forget sometimes that it might not be as common or as big as some of the other sports. So it's hard to get to generate prizes that are that huge. But the fact that you hear about people winning open guns and things that they normally wouldn't be able to go out and buy on their, maybe not buy on their own, or a serious expense. At I think in Ohio they had they were giving D2 was giving away an open gun. I think those prizes get people excited. They get excited to come out to the match. The idea that they could win the match and win something like that is very exciting. And some of it was just drawing. So just participating in the match altogether, there was an opportunity to win. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, man. Hunter Constantine with the belt bounty, he showed that there is support for it. And then Isaac McLaren, he's doing some pretty cool things with the pools for Nats or bigger matches and everything, which reminds me I need to Venmo him so, for nationals week after next. Or, oh shit, next week, never mind. Ugh. See, the days get away from me. PRS really has a great model. But their membership fees are outrageously huge, from my understanding, and there's a different level of a barrier to entry, I suppose, with PRS. I've never dabbled in it or messed with it. I shot rifles a lot in my career, and I just like handguns now more just because they're fun. But yeah, I think some of those lessons we might could take and try to implement them. Try to make it different. Go back like we talked about to the reward for doing good and performing well, even if it's not first place. If it's second or third or fifth out of 145, I think was the last number I saw in limited optics for Area 6, and 147 or 48 for carry optics.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in fifth out of those, yeah, sure, it's not number one, but hey, it's still a bit of an accomplishment in my book. It's not going to be me, but it is for someone.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that because I remember when I shot Caribbean Open and Marcus also shot it. I didn't even know IPSC did, or IPSC style matches did a banquet and did a big shoot off and stuff like that. So it was very enlightening to see that other shooting disciplines kind of take more pride with it, I would say. I'm not sure if pride's the right word, but more enthusiasm with it. Because it's not knocking the area matches I've shot already. I've loved all of them. Even Area 8, Vicky ran a great show. Area 7 with Frank, great match. Enjoyed both of them. But an area match to me is special, right? It's the one match of the year that we all look forward to, where everybody tries to come together in that area. So to see somebody shaking it up a little bit and bringing it more to that. Now I'm not gonna say IPSC level style stuff, but something different than what we've been used to for the last couple of years is nice.
I really wanted to have a side match or a shoot off or what have you. But man, I was, it's at CMP Talladega. If I would have had a true 18 bays where I could have 18 squads starting, not having a split bays, been 6 stages per day, kind of formatted like a little nationals, to where at the end, everybody's going to be there, or most everybody, because they'll all end on Sunday instead of ending on weird days. I think it would have been more conducive to having that a shoot off, and I'm still going to have, I don't want to call it a banquet. It's going to be an awards presentation, and it's going to have food there. It's not going to be, what's that place? Cracker Barrel or anything like that, right? I'll get fancy and say heavy hors d'oeuvres, snack type stuff.
Yeah.
So people get their awards and all that kind of jazz. If I'd have been able to do the 3-day format initially I'd hoped, I would have definitely put in a shoot off or at least a side match or something. Because I know when the South Carolina section match last year, I think it was Tom Castro's last year running it, and he had the little call out side match type stuff, and that was really fun. Like I remember CO Nats in 23, I believe it was. They had the Bill Drill Challenge. Like, let's bring that back. That's fun things at Nats.
Mhm.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely should do something where they have a pig picking or something like that afterwards. That and some real barbecue. That'll be a really good time. I know when we went to Puerto Rico at the end of the match, the party afterwards was a great time. I think a lot of the guys did stay, and it ended up being a lot of fun. So a lot of those things were fun. This was my first time shooting area 8 that we shot over the weekend was my first time shooting an area match. Learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. So I definitely plan on going to some more in the future. I saw the list of matches, the list of national matches come out. I definitely want to try and shoot IPSC Nats next year. Being that I shot Aruba last year, so it was my first time shooting IPSC. I'd love to give that one a try. So there's a lot of very exciting stuff going on, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for the guys to get out and at least make one or two of them. Because I know for a lot of guys that are working, have families and whatnot, trying to run around and go to 2 or 3 or 4 area matches is not sustainable. But a lot of times the one area match that a guy can get to is going to be it for him for the year.
Yeah, and last year I did Area 3, Area 4, and Area 6. Year before I did Area 6 and Area 4, and then Nats. But yeah, getting around to so many, it's fun. I like to see the different flavors
Mhm.
of what you get when you get to different places, and like going to Area 3, I was able to get with Andy Erickson and kind of crack the nut and figure out a quote unquote 360 or a 270 bay. Having the 4 berms and how to have the defined barrier versus that. Makes the 180 a little different, right?
Yeah.
So seeing that and seeing the stuff at Area 4, the way they do things in Texas is a little different than how they've done them in Area 6 and in Area 3.
Mhm.
So this year, obviously, I'm going to be at Area 6. I'm going to Area 2 in November. I've been wanting to go out there for a while because the guys at Rio do a jam up job on pretty much everything that they do, which I don't expect low cap Nats to be any different next year. Them just knock it out of the park. But 8, I just missed 8 last year. I had something pop up, and my son was supposed to go, Braden, but he got about 15 minutes from the house and got rear-ended by a state truck, so he didn't make it. But yeah, I think one, if I get 2 in, which I should, 1, 5, 7, and 8 will be the ones I need for the Infinity Gauntlet.
We'd like to see you come up here, so we're definitely welcoming you up to the Northeast for our area at least.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely make it up there. I was thinking about it this year, but scheduling and other stuff popped up, and life kind of gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mhm. Now I know, some of the older guys we shoot with, they're the ones that told me Area 2 was one of the favorite matches that they've ever shot. That's the one they try to do every year. They're also the ones that had me at Atalani they also love that one. So that was the first one I tried to sign up for. The I mean, we're in New York. They said back in the day they had matches in New York every once in a while, but I guess because of the politics up here, they don't really do them. They don't ever try to have any up here anymore, which I understand. I know we had a local match where we had some guys from Canada actually drove down. It was like 25 guys from Canada signed up for a local match we had in Buffalo, and only half of them made it. Yeah, it was a little bit of a nightmare for them. They had a great time. The ones that made it had a great time, but they were like, "No, we're probably not going to come back." The Border Patrol gave them a hard time. Um, Now, so low cap Nats, when you guys are picking low cap Nats, does it ever come into play that it's in a state that already has kind of low
I think
cap?
it's breaking up on us.
Can you hear me now, guys?
You're coming
Mine
in
is
and
your
out.
breaking. Yeah,
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Sam.
think
I
I
think
got
I can.
asked about capacity restrictions in states.
Yeah, I mean, as he was asking Billy, like, what did you like? How did you get? I mean, I'm happy to see the change in the nationals format. I'm hoping now people can attend to more. Like, at least I'll be able to hopefully attend more of them. If not, at least try to get into race gun as well as CO Nats next year, considering that they're split up. Like, how did you guys come to that decision? Like, how'd that whole go? Like, it was big news this weekend because like that obviously became public what 2-3 days ago.
Yeah, Wednesday last week, the report of membership, it was announced.
Yeah, so it's very fresh. That and the media policy was also brought up over the weekend, and I thought that was interesting too. So I'd like to hear your take on that too.
Sure. So the national stuff, right? We put it out in RFPs, the request for proposals to host. Yeah, that's the first thing, because if you have however many put in an RFP and then somebody doesn't, you really can't mess that whole process up. You got to stick with the ones that followed by the rules and jump through the hoops that you required them to. And yeah, so the restrictions on magazine capacity, they do play. So I think New York's 10 rounds, right?
Yeah.
It is.
So you couldn't have production. So yeah, can't do it there because of the laws in the state. We can't go. Our competition rules are meant to defer to the state laws, right, or or federal, whatever they are. So we it's not really smart to try to do it in a state that doesn't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that does come into play, come into factor. And then even if so, like limited 10, let's say. So yeah, well, we could do limited 10 and Rev and single stack. Yeah, cool. But let's say the state has the law says that the magazine cannot accept over 10 rounds. So my $100 2011 magazines that I only put 10 rounds in, but then use in limited optics the next week or whatever, the investment for people to have specifically blocked magazines just for that division or buy specifically 10 round magazines just for that, it's not going to happen unless they already have them or they're already from the state or a state like that, of course. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it went into a lot of the play as far as where it was hosted, and Arizona is extremely favorable currently with their gun laws, and the guys at Rio, they do the Western State single stack, and they'll do a couple more low caps, and they, again, just like everything else that they do, they knock it out of the park. So that was a really, really their history, of what they've done, what they've held, how they performed, their laws, and things that people don't think about. How close are the nearest hotels, restaurants, airport? All those are really, I didn't even really get that until I started planning Area 6. It's really a significant point and a concern to look at and to evaluate. Just the proximity of things. If you're 2 hours from an airport, it's that's rough. It can definitely be a deciding factor, or help to shift, the weighting or the points, which one way or another. But yeah, we took all of them. And Rio specifically wanted a low cap mats, and they got it, and I think it's be pretty good. It might be a fun little side quest in L10. If you got one of the old 40 cals, throw your dot on it, or a single stack with a dot on it. It might be fun to do. A little major power factor, little slide rod optic, carry you an extra gun or optic because you're probably gonna blow one off with 40. But hey, that's part of the fun, right? So
yeah.
And then looking at the like PCC was probably something that took people maybe a little by surprise. And I can't speak for everybody else. Just my own thoughts and take on it. It's hard to build a match that is really, really universal for a handgun and a rifle, and to help the PCC side get what they need for a world shoot. So by making it by itself and adding the side match of mini rifle, which I didn't realize there was a demand for mini rifle like there is. Now, we'll see what the total numbers are, but I've heard more than a couple times in my short tenure about they would like mini rifle. And maybe because it got kind of dumped out there, maybe towards the last minute, I don't remember for sure, with the last PCC Worlds, but it's going to give more opportunity. You tend to look at Steel Challenge as the gateway for the younger folks. Well, this is kind of a natural step. Like, get them somewhere, get them started with Steel Challenge. All right, and then they can go to mini rifle and get a little more of the practical side while they're still using the small caliber. Doesn't cost a whole lot. Well, I say it doesn't cost a whole lot. That's probably inaccurate.
Yes.
The ammo doesn't cost a whole lot, and in Forest Lake, they do a wonderful job with multi-gun. They have the format and the bays and the structure for it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they put in for it. They wanted it. Hey, I think it will work great there, and it'll allow more people to shoot PCC and get in there for one of their qualifiers and everything else. And it'll also have race gun to be more of handgun oriented and open up those many more spots for whichever division needs with limited optics probably. Have those more slots for that. And byproduct of also separating out CONATs is you can qualify for World Shoot in multiple handgun divisions if you really want to travel around a lot, which is not a bad thing,
No, I agree. I just, I was talking to somebody today about the PCC NAS because it's for a lot of guys who train, especially, I mean, there's not many of us who do both guns throughout the season, right? It's usually one or the other. But like as somebody who shoots, I was asking, like, I know the PCC Worlds shoot is farther engagements like at the 20 to 60 yards of what I've heard. I haven't shot it, so I wouldn't know. Are you guys planning on running it similar to that, or is it going to be more USPSA stylish? Like, what's the plan with that?
So it's going to be it's a contract match. So Forest Lake will have it, and old Tampo Timmy, Tim Dundieri is, from what I remember seeing, he'll be the match director. He would probably be the best one to ask. Now I've seen some I guess joking from him about 60 round stages, and it is a little modification to the rules so we can do more rounds for the PCC, which I think it's a great idea, but it doesn't follow along the division rules in USPSA or even in IPSC. So I couldn't really tell you on that. That'd be speculative for me, and I'm also not involved with it. He would probably be your best bet. I have a feeling that when he does it, it's probably going to be a very, very memorable and very good one. Memorable in a good way. I don't think there's been as much positive feedback as we've received this year for multi-gun mats, and he ran multi-gun mats. Just the way it was handled, orchestrated, ran, flowed, everything. So I think it's in very good hands, with Tim, and it'll definitely be a good one. I think people will enjoy it and like it, and I don't know anything other than that. So,
All right, and now just going. So, yeah, obviously you're an area director. How did you become an area director? How was that brought up? Like, I only know Frank Rizzi is my area director. Love Rizzi. Shout out to Rizzi, obviously. But like again, like how did you get into that role? Do you plan on, I guess, hopefully getting reelected? Like, do you enjoy it?
so I'll start at the beginning. I think something happened and I was abducted, and then I woke up one day and I was. No, man. So I found out that Ben Barry had, life, like I said, gets in the way for a lot of people. His position at work had moved him up, and family had grown, and all the different ropes pulling at you every which way. So yeah, I can understand. I found that out, and at first I was like, oh yeah, and then he had mentioned to me I ought to run for it, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? I said, ain't no way. I said, eh. So I got to thinking a little bit more about it, and that was April of last year, and then in May, so like my work was a lot was going on and everything else, and all the kind of usual fun stuff. And I found a small block of time, and told my wife, I was like, "Hey, I I'm gonna go somewhere. Do you want to go with me?" She's like, "Where?" I said, "That wasn't the answer. It's either yes or no." And she said, "Yes." So we took this little quick, little miniature mini vacation down to San Juan. 'Cause I'd shot Caribbean Open last year, or yeah, last year. I think it was about 20 whatever it was. This is my second. Last year was my first. Yeah. So I shot it, and then went back down, and with her spent about 5 days down there. Yeah, I was sitting there on the beach just chilling and thinking. Now, I grew up near the water. I grew up on the coast of Mississippi, so saltwater air is therapy to me in a weird way. Uh, and I was thinking about that a lot. I enjoy the sport. Uh, it provided a place for me to come, post retirement from the Army. It was uh, a bonding entity, I guess you could call it, for my son and I. He was 14 whenever we started shooting in 21, and all the experiences and laughs and borderline tears and sweat and blood and everything else we put into it for those years. Yeah, I was like, well, I've always been one that likes to return the favors when I can and give back. And I was like, well, you know, let me do it, because I might be a welcome change, and I might not be a welcome change. I don't know, but I said, let me give it a try and see. I said, I've got some different thoughts and different ways, and I think that's what kind of makes this board is unique. And I've heard that before, and it really is, because we all have our, I don't want to say our interests, because it's not really like that, because the interests are the membership, but we all have our thoughts, opinions, and what we think something should be or look like. And we don't always agree, but we are always respectful, and it's not personal, Um,
Mhm.
and I've always brought that in all of my different type of leadership assignments, in military and whatnot. And I figured, I can capitalize on that and some of the things I've done, been through, experienced, and maybe help launch into a new era. Make it sound good for the for the podcast and everything, but
Mhm.
help things continue, because I remember not too long ago it wasn't really, things weren't really going so well. And then now we're doing a whole lot better. Um, you're not gonna make everybody happy. That you're always gonna have some that don't agree or don't like, and that's fine. It's trying to get the best common middle ground that you can get. And I had that experience between, I was enlisted, we, of course, we had lieutenants and captains and colonels, and kind of getting that middle ground. I got to be pretty good at finding it. So now, will I run again? Hmm. It's not a decision I have to make yet. So we'll worry about that when the time comes. That'll be next year. Uh, I I do enjoy it though. It's I don't want to sit there and say it's exponentially more work than I thought. I mean, it kind of is, but I think it's also, in a way, it will be what you allow it to become. And I'm the kind of person that throws myself into something. Uh, I mean, many nights. I'm out here in my reloading room in front of my computer, working on stuff till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Uh, Not because I hate it. It's obviously because I love it and I care that much about it. I want to, make my fighting position better than when I got here. It was the old Army analogy that I'll use sometimes. So yeah, I enjoy it. It definitely has its moments, its trials, its tribulations, but the reward has always been, and to me will always be greater, than the negatives that can pop up from time to time.
That's awesome. It's funny you mentioned the board because I feel like when I first got into this, I got into this like 2020, end of 2022, early 2023. I didn't know much about the USPSA board at that time. I didn't know much about like how it was pretty much governed. But as of the last year, right, especially I mean, you've had a key part in disciplinary, obviously. That's your committee. We talked to Luke about it. And we talk about trends that we see as shooters, like Marcus and I, to all our hosts or all of our guests on the show. And like obviously the cheating stuff has been coming up more frequently. There's been a lot of bans. You guys are doing a tremendous job on that. So I can only imagine the work involved there. And now even with the separate NATs, because I know that was a big complaint from a lot of shooters, right? Like not being able to get a spot at all. But now you guys have pretty much opened up. We'll have to see it in practice, obviously. But you guys on paper have opened up a lot more spots for the shooters,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whatever you guys are doing is obviously listening to the community, and I know me and Marcus appreciate that. I'm sure everybody listening will also appreciate it. But how, like, I guess, for lack of better terms, it's like you guys are doing something that I have not seen yet from the board, which I'm happy to see. I'm also excited to see what you guys do with CO and LO, because I don't know what your take on that is, Billy, but I know a lot of guys want to see some change in that format. And the fact that you guys are so willing to change, I'm hopefully waiting for the rules committee to talk about their changes for next year. So we'll see maybe a shift. I don't know if you have any insight on that.
So I'm not on the rules committee. I don't know. I can't even tell you if they're considering it or not. Honestly, I don't know. I stay, underneath mountains of digital paperwork in this one committee. And then I'm also on the steel challenge, and then I was on the NAT selection and whatnot. So, and I haven't asked, frankly, because, it's committee business right now. So they can, try to figure out what it is they think needs to be done and put it forward. So for me, now my personal opinion is the stance of CO and LO being so similar is false. And it I know you're like, huh? Well, no, I get it, but if we like look at it from like, I guess, how I kind of looked at it, up until I want to say the end of July, about 69% of all the activity in USPSA were CO and LO together, right? So that's that's over 2/3. Restructuring 2/3 of it just because you think something is the same as something else, I don't know. I, I don't think that really is a very, very wise take in the whole thing. Now, don't get me wrong, CO has moved away from what it should be or it was intended to be. Uh, I think I've heard a race gun comparison to it in ways, and it's just my old backup gun when I shot CO. Yeah, see that?
A little gas pedal you got going on there.
No. It's a slide stop.
Yeah,
right.
it is.
Because
It is technically a slide stop.
So anyway, and that's kind of what I'm getting at with the whole thing. You want to fix the complaint of CO morphing into damn near open. It costs you a plastic box and an 1 5/8 measurement, and then you're back. So the production box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the production box, cut an optic hole in it, put the CO gun in there, slide the thing on it. There goes your thumb rest safety, your extended safeties, your extended slide locks, all that BS. Not you can't use it anymore because it doesn't fit in the box. Now the box. Well, if USPSA makes it and 3D prints it, it goes into a mailer envelope and ships to every club. Doesn't cost the club anything. Pretty easy to kind of negate the whole, I guess, race gun mentality of CO. Looking to, like, if we go back, hold on, where was it? The rules, right? 9 differences. Yeah, I did a little bit of looking, right? So there's 9 differences between the 2 divisions, right? So as it stands now, CO's 59 ounces, LO there's no restriction. CO has to be off of an approved list, nothing for LO. The holster rule has to be an everyday type, the surrounded bucket holster, I think we call them a lot of times, versus none for LO. The belt distance is the width of an overlay for CO, is the length of an overlay for LO. Then look at the functional light requirement for CO. You can have a light, but it's got to work. LO, you can put a cinder block on there as long as it goes into the holster and covers the trigger. Yeah. That's a little wild, I know, and contrived. But you put a weight on there. Look at the sight block guns. I got one of those lying around here somewhere. The modification list. It is somewhat closed in CO versus nothing in LO. As far as prohibited modifications and everything. And then obviously what everybody likes to talk about is the action type. DA or DASA versus SA only. Well, you can also get a single stack with a 171 mag. I haven't seen one yet, but I'd like to see one. If somebody has one. It'd be fun to look at. Maybe you can shoot with 2 hands and kind of like, But just looking at the appendixes, D9 stops at 20 and says no to pretty much everything. But D7 goes to 22.3, has the list, CO's restricted, the other one's open. So what's the big deal about it? Well, if you merge everything into LO, you're taking factory gun shooters, essentially, which $500 or $600 for a Glock, whatever it is right now, and an optic, and you're cool. You take those factory gun shooters and you stick them in there against, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, I don't know, maybe $11,000 2011s. Now, I get it. Archer, not the arrow, right? Well, we're talking about division requirements, so we're talking about the bow. So it definitely has a play in this with that kind of stuff. If you look back, I think 2015, yeah, written down somewhere. 2015. You had carry optics as 0.28% of the activity, and I think that was this provisional year. You roll up to 2016, you're looking at 2.81. So what's the big deal about carry optics back then? 10-round magazine, right? Same as production. And that's kind of what people want to say. Oh, we need to get to 15 rounds, or we need to get to IPSC, blah, blah, blah. Hear me out. So you roll up to, into like 2018, 2019. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the 141 magazine was done in 2018. The 140, 141, 25, whatever you want to call it, 140 millimeter magazine. I want to say it's 2018. It jumps to 10%, and then 19 to 16, and then 2020 to 24%. And then 2021 to 30%, 39 and 22. The constant increase. What happened to production?
It declined.
Way down. Went from, it was like 16-ish down to like 2. If you take CO and you roll back the round count and make it a 15,
you're going to kill the decision.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes the past is a predictor or an indication of what could happen in the future. If people want to shoot and they don't want to worry about reloading, which probably, yeah, there's probably quite a few, maybe in the hundreds, that, or I don't know, a couple of hundred, that will compete internationally with IPSC, and this would benefit them to uh, shoot every match with 15 rounds. Well, there's nothing saying you can't shoot every match with 15 rounds as it is. That's not, it doesn't stop you.
Right.
So taking away bullets, personally, to me, is never a good thing, because I don't, Mark and I talked about it. It's like I'm about the Constitution, and I know it doesn't affect that, but it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But the data is showing that it exploded once it went to a magazine length versus a round count.
Right.
And I got a little more on the IPSC side of it too. But if you look at some of the other things, it is a great on ramp for people. Like I said, $500, $600. If you get a brand new one, maybe you get a used one, and you throw a dot on it. I think the Defender's about 360, 400. Yeah, you're under $1,000, and you are competing with and you can compete with the 3 magazines that came with a gun. But if you only do 15 rounds, now you got to go buy more magazines. You have to, if it's done in the true spirit of wanting to follow IPSC, there's a whole lot more that has to be done as well and changed, that people probably may not like, because we've changed it from it once already. And that's the holster requirement on the iliac crest and blah, blah, blah. The holster magazines behind the hip bones. We got away from that. Well, if we want to make it like IPSC, then why are we not hollering for that as well, but just a 15 round capacity? I don't know. It just makes me kind of leery and just question the whole thing. Then you got Steel Challenge. Let's don't. People always accuse board members of forgetting Steel Challenge. Well, market right now, I'm mentioning Steel Challenge. Because anything we do in USPSA division wise, it rolls to Steel Challenge as well. Look at Steel Challenge, for example. You shoot carry optics in Steel Challenge. You can't have a magwell. Nobody reload. I'm not going to say nobody, because my dumb ass has done it before. But theoretically, nobody reloads in Steel Challenge, at least on the clock. You're supposed to. What good does a magwell do you or not do you in Steel Challenge? Doesn't matter what it does or doesn't do. It follows the USPSA rule of no magwell, right? So you've got Steel Challenge, and then probably the biggest one, or one of the bigger ones, is classification. What do you do with the classifications? What do you do with it? It's like, I had it put down somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. I'm in a quick little, I figured we'd probably talk about it, because I know it's running around the internet everywhere. Oh, so do we re-baseline every CO classification when the capacity changes? Whether we call it, production optics, or we call it carry optics, it doesn't matter. A name is a name, right? Do we re-baseline everything when the capacity changes, or let everybody's percentage fall against some fixed standard? I don't know if anybody's ever ran that number. I'm probably going to say they haven't. Now, again, I'm not on the classifier committee either, and those guys do some things with numbers that I don't. I'm not a math man. I'm not, or statistics. It's just like, oof, over my head. I let the people that specialize in it do it. But it made me. I saw a comment. I can't remember where it was, Facebook or Instagram, right? About the high hit factors similarities in the 26 provisionals, right? And it made me think about it for a second. And I thought back, y'all may have never heard of the book. Emma Bull wrote Bone Dance from, I think it was in the early 90s it came out. It was post-apocalyptic type cyberpunk thing. The only reason I really know about it is just in some other referential things that I came across it and did a skim just to gain some insight, some knowledge on another thing that I was working on. But she had a great quote in there. It said that, so think about the 26 provisionals. They're very similar, if not the same. Is that a coincidence? And Mabul says that coincidence is the word we use when we can't see the levers and the pulleys. So, I don't know. Is there something else at play? I don't know. Am I a conspiracy theorist? Nah, not really. But I do question a lot of things. A lot of different ways. I'm the kid that always got in question for asking why. Not because I challenge your authority, but I want to understand the inner workings of how something works and how it does. But so if you think about the IPSC, right, they're separate between their optics and production optics. What was it? So CO, right? Me, what do I think, right? What's the whole big thing about it? It needs to lose weight. Yeah, 59 ounces, and that was some. If you think back or look back, some of the board stuff from back in the day when they changed that production, there was a 4-ounce manufacturer's fudge fee or fudge amount of the weight of the gun. Well, so CO was kind of, I guess, doing that, and they looked at the heaviest gun at the time, which was SPO1 or the AO1 from CZ, and it was I think 52-ish ounces, something like that, just bare, just the gun, no optic, no magazine. So I guess they determined 55, and then they gave that 4-ounce variance to make 59. Now, the gun I showed you of mine, when I shot factory gun nationals last year from concealment, it was 54 ounces.
What belt did you use?
Oh, I use Hunter Constantine belt. I want a suppressor out of the whole deal, so it wasn't too bad. And it's a steel gun. It got warm when you'd reholster. I startled myself a couple times. The length limit of the magazine is deliberate. It's something that you can gauge. It's neutral to brands. You don't have the added undertaking of now what is seen as your most popular division. The ROs are having to sit there and make sure they're counting rounds correctly to make sure you're not starting with more than 15 in the magazine and on the reloads and on this and then that. That's a human factor of it. We don't have a whole lot of production around here. People that shoot production at the local match that I run, or some of the others that I attend. But every time somebody does, I've got to key myself in. All right, they can start with 16, but they can't have more than 15, and that blah 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 blah. Sure, it'd become second nature after a while, I'm sure, but why implement that on ourselves when we've been doing kind of fine, the way it is? 15 rounds is a carry gun. I don't know about y'all, but Glock 47 comes with a 17-round magazine in it. So
I was going to say, yeah, man, 17 rounds, and the backup's got 22 rounds in it. So what are we doing? Yeah.
My staccato, 20 rounds. The C2, like 17-ish, something like that. So adopt all of IPSC, right? Let's just make the whole thing production optics, right? No more CO. It's going to be PO. Go along with IPSC, right? Well, you're going to have trigger weight measurement. 5 pound for a single pull. I think it's 3.5 on whatever. It's worded weird, but 5-pound trigger. No aftermarket slides. So that was one of the things that they had changed when it came to CO. where you could change out the slide, and I'm pretty sure it was a direct result of the 320 Max or 320, one of those, where you can change out fire control groups. You can change out this kind of stuff on it. So, the production amount of 500 guns, it had to follow a SKU. Well, a green Glock is a different number than a black Glock, and a different number than a flat dark earth Glock. So you look at the other ones that maybe not have. It was 2,000. They had to produce 2,000, and then they dropped it down to 500. And then they allowed the variants in there. The Impact Machine Harbinger slide, for the CZ Shadow 2 is a great example, or any other slide swap for a gun. That's not allowed in it, sir. There's no appendix carry in it, sir.
Billy, I have to tell you, you're making it sound like a real nightmare
Look,
to change anything.
I'm not the person that, look, let's just do this because this is the way we've always done it. I hate that mentality. But if we're going to do something, we really need to look at it a lot better, especially something that's messing with singularly the most popular division, and has been for a lot of years, going on maybe 6 now. You can look at things right now. LO's growing faster. But that's kind of to be expected. And some of those numbers are cross-pollinations as well.
Right.
Which people will sit there and say, hey, people using the CO gun into LO, and these cats are winning. And Brace Gun Nats last year, I think LO was one with a Shadow 2. I think second place was a Glock 17.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It just shows you that in that instance, it's the skill of the individual, not necessarily the quality of the bow, right? Because more restrictions, and they just carry their own CO gun over. They didn't make any changes to them.
Right.
No mag wells, none of that kind of stuff. So, I guess, the whole long and the short of it, for me, is no. I don't think merging it is smart. I don't think it's a good idea. I think maybe rolling CO back a little bit and making it more onto what carry optics should be. Now, if that weight's 52 or 55 ounces, I don't know that. But what the best course of action to determine that would be is to have the rules committee and or the board look at it just like they did previously. All right. What's the heaviest gun that's used? Okay, it's this. All right. It weighs 52 ounces, right? Hopefully still. All right. 55 is it. That's what you get. There goes your 6.5 ounce brass grips and your 2 ounce tungsten guide rods and etc. like that. If anything, people will be changing the slides out to make them lighter.
Yeah, they start well. I feel like with I grew up in North Carolina. I always joke that North Carolina is a racing culture, and with gun racing, it's not any different. People are going to find a way to get what they want and to run the guns that they want. I think USPSA has a great culture of run what you brung. If you're new, you're getting into it. I was collecting guns before I could shoot them, which I learned before. Which I learned at USPSA matches. That I was like, oh, I thought I could shoot pretty good, and I found out that was I may have overstated it. And I showed up with I think an Atlas I had that was ported, and the guys were like, well, they were like, bring the other one that isn't ported, and you'll be in this division or that division and whatnot. But they didn't care. I came, I was brand new. They were like, you brought a gun with you, got some mags, got a belt, run, come on and shoot. And I think keeping that culture of run what you brung, shoot the gun that you got, is a good one that USPSA has. And one of the things I think guys always say is, regardless of the stages, how difficult stuff gets, whatever crazy, I have one club I go to that I think I showed up one week, they had 50 pieces of steel out. I'm like, what the hell were you supposed to be doing with that? and yeah, for a hit factor stage, and we and at the end of the day, it was the good shooters they're gonna succeed because they have the fundamentals, and they do those things well, and they're gonna do it no matter what different rule you make, what different change you make, they're gonna follow it, and then they're gonna find a way to be good at what they do. So I think I think people like talking about it. It's a fun conversation to have with the shooters. Um, we posted about it. We posted a clip about it today, and with some of the changes you talked about, and the most of the response I got from the guys is like, doesn't matter what you do, I'm gonna take my CO gun and I'm gonna sign up for LO because I don't want any, the guys that have been in it for a while, they don't really want any new rules. I think the idea of forcing people to do it from concealed, they're like, if I want to shoot concealed, I'll go to IDPA. If you and I think the overarching thing that you said is you can do whatever you want. If you want to run concealed while everybody else has got a speed holster, go right ahead. For some people it's a disadvantage. For others, they seem to be. It doesn't seem to matter where the gun's coming out of. They shoot it really well. So, but I think when I shot at Ruba, it was the first time that I experienced the IPSC rules. I read up about it, changed my holster, changed my belt around, did all the things just to still get out there. And the RO was like, that one's a little bit, poked my hip and said, your gun's a little too far forward. So I had to make some quick adjustments to get that together. So I think, I like the way USPSA does a lot of their things. I think, it's natural. The shooters are going to talk about what's happening. There's new rules. There's new things happening. They want to see what might happen in the future. But as one of the people that shoots a Shadow 2, which a lot of people think shouldn't even be in NCO, I love shooting that gun. I think I'm going to throw Magwell on it just to make it my LO gun at some point. But
did that for a while.
Yeah. People, I think keeping it so people can enjoy it so that there's not any big or expensive barriers to entry and sign up is a huge part of keeping it growing.
Yeah, man, it's like, look at the whole thing. It's like the guy that shoots his CO gun over in LO, like you're talking about, you don't lose anything, if you keep the divisions as they are. But the person who bought the factory type pistol to avoid 2011s or to stay in a division that didn't have them in it, they lose everything if we do merge them.
Right.
I think that a lot of it, or some of it at least, is you'll get people that will talk about it, and maybe they like it, and then you'll get some others that just like, oh, well, he said he likes that, so I'll like it too. Maybe, I don't know. It just kind of tends to be how people are. I don't necessarily go against the grain or for it, but I've always been able to step away and take a look at things, from multiple sides and multiple viewpoints. Try to figure out impacts and, what's the second and third order effects. What are the unintended consequences? And that is one thing that we will say on the board a lot when we're discussing things. If this, then I guess is kind of the structured methodology for using it in red teaming. But trying to think of if we do this right here, what are we not thinking of that could happen? And a great example is what's become of carry optics right now, by allowing the part replacement, by increasing the weight. I mean, when I showed up at CO Nats in 24 and factory gun Nats last year with 54 ounce Shadow 2, and I literally couldn't find anything else to put on to make it heavier. I just like a heavy gun.
Yeah.
Is it ridiculous? I don't know. Maybe not. Does it need to be reined in a little bit, and we can get the differences between divisions that way? Yeah, I think that's the answer we need to have with it is the box. The box is going to take a lot of that out.
Yeah.
all the the TiVo slide lock thumb rest that I love
Yeah.
so much on the Shadow.
I ran one of those for a while. I took a couple classes with Tom Castro, who said I need to learn how to grip the gun without it. So I took it off, and it hasn't made it back on yet. But I have a few of the Tebows. I like them on my LO guns too. They're a lot of fun to run. The I mean, I think like you said, man, it's funny. Like even every year something changes. After last year and the performances at Race Gun with the Glock, I think I've seen 10 or 15 GMs switch whatever gun they were running to running a Glock full time as their main gun. So, weight restriction or not, like guys are going back to the plastic fantastic, a super light gun as the main gun they run for everything. So, I have my Shadow tube with the brass grips that's on the super heavy side, like you're mentioning. And I haven't beat a single one of those GMs I shot against yet. So they had to run a Glock. So
I mean, I'm not worried about beating them because it's not going to happen.
right.
I mean, yeah, so it's funny you even mentioned that there's a buddy of mine, Jamie. We made GM together in Carry Optics back in 23, and he dabbled. He went into LO when LO came around because he had before he ever started competing. He just shot. He had 2011s. He shot 2011s. Loved 2011s. It was always kind of a weirdness for him to shift over from a 2011 to anything else. Whereas for me, going from Glocks on duty and Glocks my whole life, and then the Shadow to a 2011, I had some growing pains on, and and then Tom, like you mentioned, he got me straight with my grip, and that changed the world right there for me. But my buddy that made it GM with me, he got a Glock right now. He's shooting.
Yeah.
He's got a McLaren Gladius that he'll shoot LO, but he's like, I'm gonna put it down for a little while. I'm gonna go back to the Glock and do this, and it's kind of fun to shoot and different a little bit here in the off season while trying to figure out my next move. And here, I showed up in Florida earlier this year and met up with Tom for an all day kind of one-on-one practice session, and I'm here with this big bastard right here. And if you've never shot 1,400 rounds of 38 Super Comp in a day, I don't recommend it.
Did you reclaim the brass?
Yeah, that was a bastard too. Luckily, we were kind of around the same area, but man, I had to change guns. I had to change guns about the last 250 rounds, not because it was dirty, but because I wore a recoil spring out of it.
Yeah.
Changed it up to a different gun, shot all that up, and I mean, I learned a lot. It was fun. Learned how the gun behaved even better than what I already knew. But see, I tried LO, and then I shot LO, and I was like, man, these 2011s are fun. And my son has shot open. Let me see one of those.
Yeah.
I shot that, and then I bought that. So I've been doing that since March of last year. So
yeah, I shot one for the first time this spring because as a newer shooter, the first thing that I'm going to ask you this for my new shooters that listen to us, so to help them understand though. But I remember the first time I shot it, I'm like, this is amazing. The dot stays in the screen the entire time. It's the recoil definitely is a recoil is more, but the new shooters always ask me, they're like, how come the gun that where I can see the dot and feels like it's easier to shoot gets more points than my regular old Glock?
That's been one of those things inside, and I'm like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now it dates way back, when it was 45 1911s, right?
Right.
You shot the 45, you got more points than you did the 9mm Beretta. But it seems like as it's morphed, my 3-port comp and my 4 popples and my frame mounted optic, it's like, why am I getting 4 points for a Charlie and you're shooting CO and only getting 3?
Right.
It goes to the power thing, and I understand. I don't theoretically disagree with it. But it is an odd kind of conundrum when you look at it, because and I guess going to that open gun, it was a bit of a learning curve for me. I mean, I shot my sons, and it was, it was fun. Like you said, man, yeah, I like this thing. Nothing was super far away though. It was at the end of the year. It was like a December match, I think it was in 2024. And I shot it for like that match and a couple other ones, but since it was cold in Mississippi. Okay, so I know for me, cold was below 60 degrees. But it
Let's
was,
say it's cold up here right now.
I think then it was in the maybe 30s or 40s. And it kind of does the same thing in the summertime. A lot of things kind of shrink in on the stages. So as life went on, and I was shooting it, I was like, it is not necessarily easier. It'll actually fool you into thinking it is, and I found it harder. Believe it or not, I found it more difficult to shoot that open gun than my shadow, and I was so wanting inside. Oh, I'm gonna go back and shoot that shadow. No, no, no. I said I'm gonna try this out for a year. I'm not gonna be this guy that swaps around. I'm gonna have 8 guns in 3 months looking for the gun. Just get one. And new people, just get one. Learn it. Learn your fundamentals. Learn how to move. Learn how to grip. Learn how to enter. How to exit. How to transition. Do that with that stock Glock 17. Before you try going to a 2011 or an LO, or if you start an LO, just learn that. Don't hunt around and change guns 15 times. It's just and all of us will sit there and say that because we've done it in ways, and they'll still do it. So you kind of hang around. It's like, yeah, you gonna sell that one, or
Yeah.
But I found it a bit more difficult. And for me, it was initially the concussion of the pressure. That's not being used to that level. It had been a while since I shot anything bigger, and then having it in your hand is a little bit different than on your shoulder. But once I got used to it, I got better. I'm not going to say I'm great, but I have my moments, both good and bad.
Right. No, I know. I shoot with a couple guys that still shoot 40. They're making their own rounds. They still shoot a 40 in limited and get the major points. I think after Nats this fall, I'm gonna run my Shadow 2 production to have some fun. They got the classifier matches at the end of the year. We're gonna do some stuff like that. I think we want to run a that, and then I got a 10 millimeter Triarch Systems 2011. And that, I mean, the 10 millimeter is major power factor too, right? Right. So
depends on the chrono, obviously, but yeah, the round major.
Right. And I'm going to run that. Well, look, I don't have a robust reloading setup. I'm going to be running stock 10 millimeter rounds, and I'm going to give it a run. I mean, at the end of the day, I have doing it for fun. I enjoy, I know it gets real hardcore as you're learning and trying to get better. I'm as guilty of that as anyone. But for a couple of months out of the year, I just want to go out and blast the guns I have in the safe, have some fun, try something different, see what it's going to be like. When you're in season, you lock into one. I think last year I had when I first started, I bought an MPA. I was shooting the Atlas, had to send it in a couple times to get fixed, so I ended up running the Shadow 2, and I ordered a MPA V2. And when it came in, I ran it for like 6 months straight. Loved it. And then I found out I was going to shoot CO Nats, and I was like, oh, I can't shoot this CO Nat, so I had to relearn the Shadow to bring it back out. I think a lot of what exists is sufficient. It's fun to talk about what changes might happen, but there's so many guns out there. There's so many different things to try. There's so many, there's lots of gear games to play. Sammy knows me and him, we talk about different types of gear a lot, spend a fortune on and have have 20 different different styles of magazine holsters to watch Jacob go out there and look like with some Walmart stuff and beat everybody. He looked like he ordered his gear on Amazon and goes out there and smokes the whole match and beats everybody by 5%.
Yep.
You know, but you know, some of it for guys that collect and just love the shooting and love guns, it's part of the game, right? Just trying different stuff out, having some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I counted, I had 12 or 13 Glocks.
Mhm.
I mean, and I don't shoot any of them. I mean,
I don't know how many I have, Billy. I have a wall full of Glocks right now. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you got me beat on Glocks.
They multiply when you take your eyes off them.
they do. I picked up the Gen 6. So Area 4 last year, I got a Glock certificate, for a gun. And it had to be redeemed by March, and I kept waiting. 3 days before it expired, I was finally able to redeem it for a Gen 6.
Very
So
cool.
I've got it. I think I've shot it once. I shot one magazine through it just to kind of see if there's any differences. And I'm like, man, it's still Glock. The grip's a lot nicer on it.
Yeah.
Did a lot better job on that, but I hadn't really had a chance to fiddle with it too much between everything else and planning for Area 6 and trying to get some practice in for race gun nationals, which has not fared too well as of recent. I had a bit of a thumb. I don't know what it was, but it's still kind of there, but pretty much gone away. And my saddle joint, my thumb was a little tender. So
Yeah.
I put everything. I'd shoot the local matches. That would be my practices, and kind of cut back a lot on the dry fire to pretty much none. And I used to go at least once, maybe twice a week for some live fire practice. I'd probably do it on the Thursday before a Saturday match or before a Sunday match, just to make sure I'm, handling the gun correctly, I'm gripping correctly, I'm returning the gun right, and then go shoot the match. And surprisingly, it didn't really. Hell, I think I did a little better. It's like, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna go today, but stuff comes up. I got a doctor's appointment in the morning, and I'm gonna pack my bag. And after I go there, leave the doctor's office, and I'm gonna slide to the range and bang a couple hundred rounds out. Hopefully, I'm gonna master that damn plate swinger before the year's out.
Look, I think in Ohio, that was the first time I came across one of those plate swingers that has the 6-inch plates kind of that swinging by, and they have everything else blocked off. The first one, I went to war with it because I was like, I'm not leaving here till I get the plates off. And then when obviously the smart thing was to fire a couple and let it go. And the next one I hit it, but when I came home, first thing I got was one of those swingers so that I could figure out how to hit it because it blew my mind. That one I thought was nuts. I shot a Holy Monkey swinger for the first time in Area 8. That one was a lot of fun. They did a really good job at that match. There was a lot of stuff that I had never seen before. The teeter totter, the ramps kind of that you had to run up on one of the stages, running up the platform, shooting out the windows, running up another platform, was cool too. It's funny enough, the shaky bridge, I shot a mini match the Tuesday before I left. There was a shaky bridge. There was a shaky bridge at Area 8. And when I got home, we had a match on Saturday. They had a shaky bridge. So I went from never seeing a shaky bridge to seeing it 3 times in 1 week.
Man, I never really minded the shaky bridge too much. It is what it is. You just drive yourself in there and kind of try to bottom it out as best you can if it's on springs or if it's try to disconnect your lower half, your upper half. But race gun last year, I was like, y'all are some bastards. The shaky bridge, it was 3 per, and then you had to go prone and under a wall, into what do you want to call it, but underneath something to hit and it was a no shoot stack. I didn't think I got a damn no shoot on the stacker, but whatever. My son Braden, he shot the shit out of it, but only shot the target twice. All of them.
Yeah.
So I looked at the match book for this year, and I'm like, you let me find that bastard. again, it's the same thing. It's a shaky bridge, except it's unloaded, magazine and gun on the table. You're facing up range. I didn't think it was 3 per. And then they've got 3 pieces of steel on each side, lined up behind each other and everything. And then you go prone and shoot 3 paper targets. I'm like, I'll be glad when this trend goes away.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't mind prone. I don't
Yeah.
mind the shaky bridge. I don't like both those bastards together though. But
Yeah, they got to keep trying to make it harder for you guys. I know the very first time I was supposed to go prone was in the match book for the local. It rained so bad that day, everybody got there and was like, "Look, we need to talk about this because
yeah, definitely.
they come here to roll in the mud." The next time I saw it, I was home North Carolina visiting family, and I shot a quick match at Go Shoot, and he had some steel out 30 yards that we were shooting laying on the ground that were sometimes I get it caught in my head. I want to see that the steel has a way of I want to see it fall. I can't let it go. But man, every time I go to a match and see something I haven't seen before, it's a little exciting. I know I'm going to learn something. I know I'm going to see something I haven't seen before. I think the coolest part about shooting area 8 was my first area match. I think I learned more in that one match than I have ever learned in just a match before, just because you're shooting with a lot of really good shooters. You're seeing a lot of what they're doing, but you're also getting to compare your skill level to theirs and understand where you're lacking. So I had a really good time shooting it. Shooting with some of I shot. Luckily, a couple of the guys were able to get into the same squad, so we all went down together and had a good time. So, I'm appreciative of it. I think, the one of the really cool things about the sport in general is the amount of volunteering that has to happen for these things to exist, and the amount of people that show up to do them. We joke with the guys that it's not it's not a USPSA match till somebody starts complaining about the stages, and I'm like, well, and I like the guy like we joke. Was like, well, get out there and set up some stages, design a match, and go out there and help set it up, and then tell me about what you didn't like about the stages. I think the ROs that show up to help make these events happen. It's a beautiful thing to see it all come together. So, it's very cool to see, the different regions that are doing them, and it seems to be all over America. Everybody gets a chance to find a match within reasonable driving distance that they can get to, without it being, a crazy expense for them. So,
Yeah, man, you said it perfect. It wouldn't happen without the volunteers. And yeah, we can talk about level 2s, level 3s, but at the level 1, the local match, I mean that's USPSA.
right.
You'll see the more of the advertisement notoriety, whichever you want to call it, when it comes to nationals and area matches and section matches and this special match, that special match, or whatever. And those are great, and we need them. And I go for the same reason that you do, to see people I haven't seen in a while, and to really kind of test myself against the best. Just kind of see where I'm shaping up, how I'm looking, and get that pressure of being there. You really only get the one shot at it, and all that, just like on a higher level than the local. But without the match directors and the section coordinators and the volunteers at the level 1 matches, none of the other stuff would exist, because it's not very often that major match is self-sustaining in a way. All the volunteer that comes with it offsets a lot of that, but the local match is completely dependent upon the volunteers. I know at mine, I'll try to get started. I'll go out there ahead, like on a Thursday or a Friday. My match is on a Sunday. I'll go out there on Thursday or Friday and pull all the props and whatnot out to each bay, and then usually we'll set up on that Friday. If we can do it Friday, it's better because in the summertime, if on Saturday, come Sunday, I'm done. But get it set up, and there's a couple guys will come out and help me. We'll get it all set up, and then the guys that show up earlier in the morning of to help me staple up targets. That run the timers and the tablets. Without all that, we wouldn't have what we have, and we wouldn't have had the the exponential growth in just the past couple of years. I think when we were talking about the COLO experience and everything, it's like, let's say in 2015, I think carry optics was what 0.28%. Well, like the total activities like of that year were 102,553. Whereas 2025 was 253,500 and some change. So in a 10-year period, and that may only be, that's only COLO limited production and open. But that exponential increase, is testament to volunteerism. And that's what keeps us going. It's not me, it's not the board. We're easily changeable and everything else. It's the people that run the Steel Challenge matches in and out every weekend, and the USPSA matches in and out every weekend, and volunteer their time and their money and a lot of times their patience, to make sure that it continues. And I know I've never lost sight of that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why last year when the match director stepped down, I said, "Yeah, I'll do it," because I wanted to give back, like I said. In addition to later on, going for Area 6, but when it came time for the Area 6 match, I've never run a major match. All I do is I see people that have done it. I know people that have done it. I've heard. I said, well, I could very easily, contract it out or say, hey, such and such, why don't you run it? And good. I didn't want to do that. I kind of felt like it was my responsibility, not only to see that it happened, but to make sure it happened. And it also gave me that perspective of being able to see what it's like for the guys and the gals that do it day in, day out, every year, sometimes twice a year. All of this coordination and synchronization of efforts and everything to culminate in this one event for a few days, to see it, understand, and empathize, with that. And it has been a very enlightening experience and very informative. Whole bunch of great volunteers helping me with that as well, but you can't get past the volunteerism. That definitely makes everything, possible and makes everything happen.
Very cool. Yeah, we have a really good crew up here. A lot of guys that make time when they can to come out and make sure that they happen. A lot of people think, you're up in New York. Do you shoot? I get that question every time I'm out of town at a match. And the area I am in Rochester, the Buffalo, Western New York area, I think we have 5 clubs now that do weekend matches. So every now and again they're split. There's depending on the scheduling, they're splitting the pot. And during the week, everybody has their practices. So you got Tuesday, you have Steel Challenge on Monday, Tuesday USPSA practices at one club, same thing Wednesday and Thursday. So we've been lucky that we're like 5 nights a week you can shoot if you're really into it. And up here it seems to be growing despite our 10-round mag limits. I know the guys up here are and when they leave town they want to be able to fill up the 140 mags. They're not people are typically not going to leave New York to shoot a low cap match.
I don't blame them. I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
There'll be hell on reloads. You're not going to out reload them. New York guys, as Jersey guys, it's like, you ain't gonna beat them on a reload, man.
No, one of the Sammy ended up in the shoot off after the Puerto Rico match, and when they stated the rules, and it was like, oh, you got to shoot, reload, and I was like, well, they're not going to beat the New York boy in the reload contest.
Not a chance. I mean, I was
Nah, I ended up getting that one, especially with PCC.
I was looking at mine the other day, and I was like, let me just check that. I looked at that reload time. I'm shooting open. I don't have to reload as much usually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, that's come a long. That's gotten bad compared to what my CO stuff was. I was hitting it in right at a second, fairly consistently barely under a second.
Mm-hmm.
Shot, reload, shot. Right around there. To now, it's like bad. I'm pushing over a second and a half. It's like, ugh. But
Yeah,
whatever.
it
Product of
does
the
happen.
beast.
Right. But look, it's nice to I every once in a while run open with my LO gun and run a 170, and it's nice not to reload. It's a it I'll tell you, the with 10 round mags, at times it changes the sport a touch, just the way you can address stages and whatnot, because up here, even in a 32 round or 31 round stage, we got to, we're shooting 6 reload, shoot 8 reload kind of deal. So it changes the whole way that you address the stage or think of blending, think of shooting the sport in general. So, but I can imagine having to do that every once in a while would be fun for people coming from somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As anytime I get squatted with somebody that's from a restricted state or whatever, I say, you've got real magazines, right? Like, oh yeah. Okay, so if you didn't, I got something you borrow. So you can
Yeah.
get the full effect of everything and fully load it up. But it is fun. You say it, how it changes the stage. And think about classifiers that are over 10 rounds now. Like,
Yeah.
uh, what's that one from 24? It's like the one that's like a big old ass stage. It kind of dog legs off to the right. And
Mhm.
now for something completely different, I think it's called 24. I don't remember the number, but it's 24 something. That's 24 rounds. Like, you're reloading 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of times our guys, when they're thinking through their match, in an effort not to piss up, the 25 classifiers were a blessing for all the restricted state guys, because there were a lot of 10 rounders in there. And so that just for the ability for us to be able to kind of to see how we stack up against the rest of the verse, being that you guys don't have to reload most of the time. But then there are some stages where there's plenty of time to do a reload. I think I shot the 26 one of the 26 series over the weekend, 2605 downrange, obviously. And you got your first 3 targets, and then you gotta kind of get around that corner to get the last 3. And a reload didn't matter so much on that, depending on your skill level and what you're doing. If I would have did the things that I was probably taught, um, it would probably been better without the reload, but with the reload, my time was pretty consistent. So it's definitely a change, but it's something that the guys learn to work with, and still manage to have a good time either way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, what was it? Shoot. That's what I'm gonna tell you. So, have no fear. The second phase of the 26 classifiers will be coming out. I don't know exactly when, but it should be fairly soon.
Okay.
Couple months ish. They're kind of a little more geared to the indoor type ranges. For you guys in the
Oh
north
hell yeah!
that have
Awesome.
indoor type,
Yeah.
you can't spread everything all out. Well,
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that they're going to have some mandatory reloads. So there's y'all's chance to shine.
Yeah.
If you think
They'll
about
love
it, there's
that.
only so many things that you could do, on a smaller compact stage. So having to force or mandate this set, then reload this set, is
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a couple of those. But they're definitely going to be, I think, geared more linear. Not
Mhm.
necessarily a stand and shoot, but a bit more on the linear side to help with the indoor ranges. That some places they only have an indoor, and then half of the year you guys probably don't shoot outside. You probably wrap it up about October-ish, maybe November.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
October, November is probably when it starts to die off.
Yeah, we fight
April, fire back up.
if we're lucky. We fight that first month back to the outdoor. It take over the little luck and weather over 45 degrees. Sometimes we'll get out there.
Yeah, I got you.
We fighting the cold is tough. So, going shooting the indoor is really all a lot of clubs got, especially up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, I want to say there's probably going to be 5 or 6 off the top of my head. That'll be. And it's a specific phase geared just for indoor guys. I mean, they can be set up anywhere, obviously.
Yeah.
To really help out the indoor clubs that are not able to set up such a large variety after the attrition of some of the older ones. And it was a concern that it was emailed into the board all. I saw them. And it's they're taking action on the that's a legit really I don't want to say obvious because I guess it wasn't for I've shot indoor range only when I went up to the north, and that's where it was. It wasn't a match, it was just a class. But down here, like we just got an indoor range near me last year, I think it was. And they're not really set up for USPSA. They'll do their little practical competition, they call it, but you're stuck in a lane pretty much. It's maybe 15, 18 feet wide, but you get a lot of depth. So I think it was a very needed thing to be done, and it was heard. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah. No, very cool. Yeah, when you love shooting and you got 6 months indoors, you're gonna grin and bear it and shoot those indoor matches as much as you can.
Oh yeah, I mean I would too. I mean I think the same thing when I'm out there and it's 30 degrees, 35 degrees outside, and I'm hating life, but still shooting. So being this side of the dirt and this side of the grass and shooting is a lot better than the opposite.
100%. So now when I know we talked to Luke about it a little bit, but we were the process, I guess, when someone has a complaint, what does that look like for you on your end? Does it as far as the processes go, and if somebody levels something, or versus it's it's silly season and people are complaining about something on the internet but nobody's actually brought it to you guys, how do those processes work for the board and powers that be?
Well, so I guess we can kind of separate it into 2 different things. One, you'll have say suggestions, complaints about stuff like how this is done, why this is done like this, or I don't like this because of that, or whatever, or suggested improvements or whatever. And then you'll have another one that'll be, I guess, more along the lines of the disciplinary side of it, where I saw this, or I witnessed this, or this individual here's the receipts for it. So generally, it's usually on the what's the maybe not help USPSA, but it's the one where it's a general kind of email that goes to USPSA. That's usually gotten by one of the full-time folks, Alan or Jake, support at USPSA, I think it is. Alan or Jake, if not both, will get it, and then they'll forward it. So let's say somebody did a complaint about a discipline thing. Send it to that, then he would forward it to myself and Ian, for the discipline committee to check out. We check out everything. I think I gave the numbers at the report to the membership. 28 cases so far this year since January. Or no, I'm sorry, since March. Now, if it's I don't like this club because they did X, Y, Z. Not really a code of conduct thing or something like that,
Right.
that may go to board all, or it'll go to all of us. Or if it's something like, hey, we need to merge CO and LO, right? Hey, that'll go to like it may go to support, it may go to board at USPSA, but either way, it finds its way, to all of us.
Mhm.
And I know historically, responses have been lax, maybe, and it's one thing that we all, I guess, are wanting to make better and to try to keep better and get better is, you send something in, you know, you know, barring it's, I don't want to say silly, but maybe it's, I don't know. I will respond to anything somebody sends directly to me.
Mhm.
I just do that because it's, to me, it's just courtesy.
Right.
But if it's to the board all, sometimes it can kind of fall through the cracks. I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of times Dan himself will respond just to make sure his response sent.
Right.
If it regards specific, like, affects me, like if I said something that's affecting just me, and if maybe it even affects some other people, then it may come in and we're looking at it. We're trying to figure the way forward on it.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, I feel like it probably should deserve a response, and it's just one of those things that, again, it gets to be kind of really who needs to respond to it and what does the response need to be, because we get some things in there that leave you scratching your head sometimes. Uh,
Mhm.
I never, I never realized that part of it. I never realized that there was as much um, things going on that shouldn't when it comes to
Right.
scoring and things else. I had no idea until I got in. Actually, I got on the discipline committee as a member last
Mhm.
year, and then I guess naturally it said, well, you're the only one left, so I guess you get it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. It's helpful, but so yeah, I guess to answer the question, it just depends on the route it comes in,
Mhm.
um, and how it will get answered or followed up with. A lot of stuff it may not get a response just because sometimes it, it's never really anonymous, like who sent it in, but
Yeah.
may not get a response because, all right, or it would be like, thank you, got it. That's usually what I'll try to do. I respond to the originator, say thank you, logging it, or thank you, I got it. Um,
Right.
and won't really follow back up just for the simple fact of um, keeping some confidentiality of it. Don't want to put people's business out. Don't want to, because it may not be accurate. Uh, and if it
Mhm.
is, don't want to put that business out there yet either. That's not for me to sit here and tell the world and spout off about that. It'll come out in board minutes and any kind of results.
Right.
But support at USPSA is never a wrong answer because it's
Mhm.
monitored and it will get moved usually to the appropriate venue that it needs to go to, regardless of what it
Right.
is, whether it's classification issue. There was some classification issues as far as the system running, with that, or you can't log into your email anymore to reset your password for the website. You know,
Mhm.
help, support, whichever one it is at USPSA, they all get routed to the right person. We've got
Right.
a great full time staff. Heather is absolutely wonderful and amazing. Um,
Mhm.
Rick is got to be the most overworked guy in the IT department. And he comes from an Army background, so I know that in the Army they don't really do a whole lot, right? I'm kidding anybody watching the signals in the Army. They do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But he's great on his stuff. Heather is wonderful. Jake and Alan, they are wealth of knowledge and everything else. I've never had a question that didn't get answered. And to my knowledge, uh, one that's came in has never not been answered or a result driven from it. If that makes sense on it. So
Right. No, it's good to hear. I mean, I know that at the end result, the transparency. I know people like to hear that that's happening. It makes people feel good about what's going on in the sport. That they, I mean, as you well know, and you've done yourself, people invest a lot of time and money and energy and their life's blood into participating, volunteering, and trying to help keep the sport going. So it's I think a lot of that's exciting to hear.
yeah, and for me, I came with a perspective of, no, I'm just Joe Schmo member, and then it opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I don't really remember a whole lot of how, I guess, things used to be back further, like in the early 2020s. I didn't join until May of 21, and then shot my first match in June of 21.
Mhm.
I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention, to the inner workings and everything going on. I was just trying to figure out how to shoot damn gun better.
Right.
Because doing the cop mentality and the military mentality of, slow down and get your hits, the smoothest fast, and all that kind of crap. But slow and
Yeah.
smooth as fast, it's still slow. I got a lot of alphas, but I got them real slow. So I would. It probably wasn't until 2020, the end of 23 ish, maybe. Beginning of 24 is when I started paying a little more attention, and then they started having the live streams. I'd watch the live streams, every month. But before I ever just decided I wanted to do the Area 6 director stuff, I still watched them. People thought I was nuts. I was like, I don't know everything, but I know a little bit of what's going on.
Right.
So, the information's out there. I don't know how much I care for the term transparency because it's used so much and it's almost like a buzzword. But be that as it may, I know it's one thing that we strive for, to not hide behind cloaks and be mysterious, um, across the board, for everything. Obviously, there's some things when it comes to certain levels of governance and finance and like the discipline stuff. That, yes, it does need to have confidentiality associated with it, but everything that can be is. It's like the financial audit for 2025. It's on the website. You know, people may not know where to look, but you look under membership, and or the whatever it's called, the heading at the top, and you go to financial documents, and it's in there.
Right.
It may still say draft, but it is no different than the approved one because it had to come back, and then the 990 is coming. Should be this month, maybe the first of next month, and that'll be posted out there for everybody to see. You see where everything goes, the finances, the everything that's on. So it's the financial transparency is definitely there. Anybody that says it's not is, I don't know, they're not currently paying attention to it or just don't know where to look. But it's
Right.
there. And then you didn't even ask me about it, and I just told you. So I mean, I will tell people, hey, go look, look at it, read it. If you don't understand it, ask me. Hell, I may not either, but we'll figure it out.
Right.
No, I do think this current board's more vocal and more transparent than the ones of previous. But just Billy, just one more thing on disciplinary, because I am more curious about it. Like, I know, obviously a lot of it's confidential. Before you guys come to a judgment, like, I know you guys vote on it, and I remember reading the minutes from last meeting. Like, I mean, you can't share a lot of things obviously about it because it's a process and you want to keep it confidential. But like, if somebody is getting ready to be passed on a decision, like how long is the investigation? Is it case by case? Is there a determination where you're like, nope, this is definitive, this is what it is? Like, and even with an appeal, like, let's say if somebody wants to appeal it, like, how does that go about? Is it probable, or is it already, you guys already have a good idea of what's going on? Like, is it all just case by case, or is it pretty regimented in a format?
So it's it's both or all the above, I guess you could say. So I'll break it down like this. Something is brought to, and I'll tell you this: 99.9% are people saying something. Either through their area director, or to me as their area director, or to me as being on the discipline committee, or to that support at USPSA saying XYZ. It's taken and then it's assigned to one of the folks in the discipline committee, and it's investigated and looked into. All of the everything from data to witness statements to XYZ. It's all looked at, and then I do it a lot like law enforcement investigation, because it's a fairly cut and dry process. Hey, this is the report, right? I was assigned this by whoever. You looked at this, and this. It produced X, Y, Z, which is clearly wrong or a violation of whatever. Spoke to witness A, witness B. Had a statement from witness B and another witness C who couldn't talk on the phone, but sent me an email transcript or email statement. Talked to the individual concerned. This is what they said, how this is laid out and how it's done, and this is what happened or didn't happen or whatever regarding the situation. And then all of that's taken and it's put into a file, obviously not a paper file, And when it comes time for the board meeting and executive session, then that stuff is discussed amongst the whole board. As far as this, all right, well, is this or that or no, or what was the answer for this one, and that kind of stuff. And it's all made available for them to see as well. So any questions that they have, they can look and they can see exactly what time something changed, or what event led to this, or whatever you can come up with. Trying to be as broad as I can. Then it's nothing is voted on or done in executive session. It is all done in open in the open board, the open meeting, afterwards. And then that's where the decision is made. It's a vote, and you can vote yay or nay or abstain. So far, nobody has abstained. It's been usually a yes because of the evidence that's presented. Now, when that happens, the member is given they're emailed to their email on record, and then they'll get a certified letter. That is the letter saying this is what the board decided, whatever it is. And you hear your due process type thing. So I think one of the biggest things that is maybe misinterpreted is the due process. According to the bylaws in 3.10, it goes to the discipline committee charter, which and that references the terms of membership, I believe it is, about the due process. And it's essentially, I don't have it in front of me, but off the top of my head, it's you have the right to appeal your thing to the board. You need to know, informed of what it was, what you were, guilty of, quote unquote. It's the procedural aspect of it. It's not like a court case, like a civil case, where I have the right to face my accuser. I can do discovery, like lawyers will do discovery, like you see on NCIS or TV or whatever. That's not. It's outlining your procedural steps that you're entitled to have and to take, against the decision of the board. The decision is not me. You know, I'm gonna be looked at like I'm a dick, but I'm not. You know, if I investigate something, I get all the facts and the totality of the circumstances, and that's what any of us do. It's up to the board to actually decide, what the how to adjudicate it, and no decision is made before any of that happens. It's made then at that moment when the board votes, in open session, and then I think it's 30 days for appeal, and that's your time to present evidence and present on your behalf, to the actual board. Usually we're all there. There's been a couple of times where one has had a work conflict, because again, these are scheduled at times that are not known. It's at the the scheduling availability of the individual, and then also of enough of the board members to actually sit there and be able to hear and look at and review and ask questions. Then after that's done, no decision is made because we're not in a board meeting. Then at the next meeting, the board will again go into executive session and talk about it. If people weren't there, they'll get brought to speed on it. Then the vote won't happen again until we're out of the executive session. Nothing is, can't reiterate enough, there's no decisions that are voted or made in executive session, only in the open session. And I mean, then the board returns they vote, they have a decision, another letter is sent, to the individual saying yay or nay, or whatever. And that's final. That's it. The decision of the board is final at that point, because they've had their appeal through the due process, and the whole process of everything, and that's over at that point. So it's probably something I want to say I enjoy the least. Not only because of having to look at this stuff and actually see what people are doing sometimes, but it's something I never thought of when I started participating in USPSA, and something I never thought of even when I ran for the board. I was like, man, this is a hobby. This is enjoyable. This is, we call it a sport, and it is. And then to tarnish it and yourself, it's like I understand it, but I don't get it. And like I said, people may think that I enjoy it, and I'm like, I don't. I really don't. It just kind of sucks having to do it. But again, the other side of that is it's something that needed to be done, because apparently it's been neglected for a while. And I know previously Ben Berry and Andy Erickson, they were chair and vice chair of the discipline committee. That's when I came on last year. Was kind of fledgling and starting out, and they got some stuff done. We have, with the bylaws change, it changed a lot of the little intricacies here and there. And now, while I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, sanity X, Y, Z, I'm not going to do that. Anything that happens would come out in the board minutes now versus not. And it kind of removes some of the secrecy around the whole thing, which adds to the desire and the want of all of us for everybody to be able to see, understand, and know what's going on at the absolute most available, most way possible we can do it, without violating some confidentiality or non-disclosure stuff. And I think it's doing its job. I don't want to say it's doing good or it's doing bad, because I don't think you can judge it in terms of good or bad. I think it's doing its job. It's probably the best way to put it.
No, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
They cover you? Okay. Sometimes I can kind of get off on a weird,
No,
I'll make sure I stay on track.
yeah, you're making sense. I mean, those are the look, nobody ever wants to have to be the X-Man, but at the end of the day, that is what it's what those things save the sport. That's what keeps people wanting to do it. If they, you know, if, with people knowing that there is a standard. Your standard bearers are the ones that make sure that the sport stays on on the level, and it keeps people interested, keeps people wanting to do it. A lot of guys, they're every spring, thousands of guys popping out with their pistols, and they're setting goals for themselves for what they want to accomplish for that year, and and then look, yes, is it a hobby? Sure. But at the same time, for a lot of people, what does that mean? It's their balance in life from work, from working every day, taking care of their family, taking care of their job, something that they do for themselves to give themselves a little bit of mental clarity and peace. And it means the world to them. So to have it in good hands and being assured that it is that the standard is being kept, it's extremely important to a lot of folks. So, and not to put all that weight on you and the board, but it matters to us. It's important. It's extremely important to us, and we like to see it, being kept by people who care. So, keep doing your thing, I'll say.
Yep. Man, I know I appreciate it, and I know all of you guys do, and we don't do it, for that. But I'm with you. I do it because I enjoy it. It's because it kind of lets me leave some things behind. Like I can just let me go absorb myself into this practice session. If I haven't went and live fire shot in a while, I can tell. I start getting all like twitchy and everything. Like I need to get the range of shoot.
You get the itch.
It's weird. So I totally get it. Yeah. Okay. I say it's a hobby, yes, but I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is definitely it's therapy in a lot of ways. It really can be. It can be very therapeutic. It's weird and it's wild to experience it. Like when you go out there and you just have a shitty practice session, and you're like, man, that was terrible. And then 2 days later at the match, you go in there and you skull drag people. I'm like, I need to have bad practices more often, It's like,
yeah. No, we talk. Me and Sammy actually talked about that today. It's a hard thing as human beings. We don't like to accept it, but we learn infinitely more from our failures than we do from our successes. And when you have those practices and when you have those bad matches, and you come off of them and you work new things, or sometimes you don't even realize you're absorbing the thing that you were working on, to the point where you got to sit with it. Your body needs to sit with it, and your mind needs to sit with it for a little bit, so you can take it to the next thing and actually do the thing that you're working on. And I think that's a big part of the sport, and a big part of just getting good at anything. I mean, this is our thing, but you have to, I tell the new shooters, you have to go out there and fail a whole bunch, on your way to trying to figure out what works for you, because this GM, that GM, this super GM can tell you all the ways that they did it and all the things that they did and all the, the hard and fast rules they have around it, but you still have to figure out what works for you and how you're going to be able to do it at a high level. So, and that only happens when you're working on it by yourself. Unfortunately, nobody can do that part for you.
Yeah. It's the mental fortitude, the discipline, and keeping the consistency. I mean, I could get fly Tom up here and pay him to holler at me all day long on the range, and it'll work. Don't get me wrong, but it's like discovery for your. It's an adult learning principle. Adults best learn that which they discover for themselves. And that's part of one of the biggest areas of growth that I've experienced and noticed doing this as far as shooting is you do something over and over. You don't really know why you're doing it wrong, but you just know you're doing it wrong. So let me try to do it right. Well, what the hell is right? It's when you can start to identify what went wrong when you did it. And you're like, I need to pick my spot on the ground better so I don't overrun my position, so I can shoot sooner and get into the position faster or sooner and shoot and out sooner. And then there's my extra second of stage time that I cut off. It wasn't until I started to be able to do things like that I was like, oh, I ain't great at it by any means, but it's all still a work in progress for me. But being able to self-identify, almost self-coach, is really I guess the bridge everybody wants to cross, because it is pays so much more. It seems like.
Yeah, that's a small awakening I think I had over the weekend. I started paying attention to on a couple stages in a row. I was like, that I started the advice that I had received before I understood what it meant right in the middle of a stage, and which sounds dumb, but I was shooting and I was like, wait. I got to the next thing and I was like, that's what he was telling me 3 months ago that I was doing wrong. And now that I'm home, I can go out to the range and actually work it. So I understood what he meant. So it's, but I think that's what keeps people energized. That's what keeps people coming back. The small things, the small advancements you make, from week to week and match to match and month to month. So
did you get rained on?
So we got rained on just a little bit. We got lucky. I shot Friday. It was hotter than hell for the first I think six or seven stages we shot. We got to lunch. We got on the teeter-totter, and then after that, for about 30 minutes, the sky cracked, thunder, lightning, everything. And they did a 20-minute rain delay. I think we only had one member of our squad end up shooting the next stage in the rain because the rain stopped. Then it started back just for them. I was like, that's tough break. And then it stopped, and it was it actually cooled the place down. So I think we got the best of both of it. We got a hot morning and we got a cool afternoon without actually having to shoot in any rain. So we got lucky. That was the long answer. Did we get rained on? Kind of not.
Okay. The big rainstorm was Saturday, wasn't it?
I was there actually taking photos Saturday. I'm getting back to photography, so it was fun to be out there shooting with Brenna from Phoenix Media. So I was there watching the squad. They thankfully didn't get any rain, and then I shot Sunday, and Sunday was just hot and humid. So it looked like the weather held out. Overall, the match was great. Like, I loved it. I know Mark's had a good time. I didn't finish where I wanted to finish, but I was pushing. I just made GM recently, so I've been pushing for that higher level of speed to be like a competitive GM. And unfortunately, as you know, Billy, like, things fall apart when you're pushing sometimes, right? It doesn't always go your way. But I learned a lot from that match, and now I have homework to work on for Nats, because I know me and Marcus are both going to nationals this year for factory guns. This will be our first Nats that we're going to, so I'm excited for that and see what that's like. So it'll be a good time.
Where y'all gonna fly into?
Vegas, I guess, is the only option.
Have you already booked your tickets?
Yes, unless you have another recommendation.
There's an airport there in Hurricane.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, this might change some things.
It might cost a touch more, but Vegas to Hurricane was a little over 2 hours, I think it was. And you have a time change in the middle of it. Yeah. So, and if you land and you're hungry, get something to eat before you get on the road.
Yeah, but I spent like a decade ago. I had a job that took me out to Vegas pretty often, and every time it reminded me of when I lived in Texas. Everywhere you had to go was you're on driving through the desert for an hour.
Yeah.
or 2 or 3.
And there's one thing I can confirm for sure is that it does not look anything like the Smokies out there. Now, y'all don't understand that, and he may or may not see it, but one of the guys from Mississippi went to South Dakota with me, and so me, Caleb Patterson, and Tim, the guy I was telling you about, we shot South Dakota, and Tim just had never been out there. He just couldn't get over it. This doesn't look anything like the Smokies. He's like, well, damn, Tim, because it's not. So I had to throw that out there. So if I can catch a clip on it, I'm gonna run it for him. He's just gonna laugh at me. But yeah, it is definitely like flat into the desert between Vegas and there. I think there's a couple of little towns maybe, and I think we ended up stopping at a gas station thing or something, grabbing something to eat. It's like we never got there. It felt like, and then having to go back because I think our flight was, I don't know, 10 or 11 in the morning. You lose an hour as you're going. And it's like, what time? It's like, but see, I know Aaron Edens flew in to Hurricane in that little airport there.
Yeah.
Now you ain't gonna land no 777 in that bastard, but a little regional type airport. I would explore it and see if there's a huge price difference. I don't think it's that bad. I didn't know about it until I was already there. But
I'm trying to get Sammy to get out to Vegas early so we can go shoot a 240 out of a helicopter.
That's not all that great.
Billy's telling us it's not worth it, Marcus. There you go.
Well, I mean, if now if you could do it in Texas where you can shoot pigs,
that sounds like fun.
Well, we're from New York. We can barely get guns in New York. So to shoot anything out of a moving vehicle will be next level for us.
Well, maybe we have to do it for that IPSC match down in Texas. We'll have to switch it up and do it down there though.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna shoot machine guns in Vegas, that'd be worth it. I was just trying to give you the tip on avoiding the 2.5 hour drive. It's like, they hooked me up with a rental at Hertz because I needed a little bit bigger because I had Braden, I had Caleb and Greg Clement. We all landed at the same time. I got a rental. We all came to Hurricane, and they had me in this damn. I think it's Expedition XL, and it had like the ribbon in the front with all the gaugey bullshit. I'm like, the hell do I use this thing? I'm going down the road. I put it on cruise control, and I take my hand off of it, and this bastard's driving itself. I'm like, oh, you should have done that. It's washing your eyes, though. I laid my head back like this, messing, and it shut off and made me drive. And it was neat, though. I didn't really trust it, but it was it was fun to play with.
Well, they don't want you to trust it too much. That's why they make you keep your eyes on, because they don't want to be blamed when it decides to take a detour into a ditch. So, well, Billy, I had a phenomenal time talking to you, man. Learning more about the game, learn more about the sport. I'm still new, but I hope to do it for a long time. I'm still working my way through I'm excited to shoot some of these big matches. And you guys do a great job.
I appreciate it. It's great being on here. I'm glad y'all had me and reached out and asked me. I was like, hey, I don't mind. Absolutely. Kind of fun. Sit here and talk to people. Hopefully, shed some light on some things.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think people will like it. We'll have to have you back next year and ask you some questions. Have you guys make some changes? Got some new fun stuff to talk about.
Hey, I'll be around.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, Amy.